You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by. On the morning shift.
Anything
could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
Hey everyone, welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh, glad to be here with you. Thankful that you're here with us. We're live on CKLU 96.7 FM on the radio. We're also streaming online at cklu.ca. You just click on the Radio Player Canada app and you can stream us. You can also download the same Radio Player Canada app. You can take us with you and listen to us anytime, anywhere on your favorite device. So if you prefer to listen to your entertainment, podcasts, whatever have you, in audio, online, then that's the way to do it. Also, we're streaming live at facebook.com/Sudbury News and youtube.com/Sudbury News. That's video streaming. Make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, follow, and mainly comment. We'll do our best to get the comments read for those listening either online or on the radio. And we'll also do our best to get them up on the screen. Well, we do get every comment up on the screen. If it is 2 lines, maybe 2.5 lines, that's about it that fits. So just know if you're commenting and you want your comment to be on the screen on the live broadcast, that it'll have to be kept to that length, because anything longer than that gets cut off. And in the comments on Facebook, at least afterwards, they scrub out whatever comments they feel they want to get rid of for some strange reason. It's just some comments are not there afterwards. We don't know why they keep some or why some are gone. There's no rhyme or reason in my point of view. Excuse me, but it just is. So just know that. And so if you want your comments to be, be able to be presented after the fact, or if someone's going back and watching the show and you feel it's an important comment, something that you feel passionate about, if it's really long, you're only going to get a 2.5 lines possibly on the screen. So thank you very much for sticking with us this morning. We got off to a bit of a late start today, so let's dive right in. We got weather, which there's an advisory out there. If you buses are canceled in Massey and Sudbury areas, so we'll get into that a little bit more. We're going to start off with our weather advisory and weather, and we'll be back right after that. We got local news. We'll do a deep dive into something today, I promise. And we'll be back right after this. And your Sudbury weather brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. It's very cloudy out there. There is a weather advisory. It's -8 currently. Feels like -16. Weather advisory is as follows for Sudbury and vicinity. Winter weather travel advisory in effect. Hazards. Reduced visibility at times in areas of heavier snow. Peak snowfall rates 2 to 3 centimeters per hour. Snowfall amounts 10 centimeters. Now, this is coming out of the blue. As you know, yesterday, this was not part of the weather at all. We were going to get 2 to 4 centimeters, and that was pretty much it. So this is just coming in out of the blue. 10 centimeters ending this morning. Snow will ease to flurries this morning. Motorists should expect hazardous winter driving conditions and adjust travel plans accordingly. Prepare for quickly changing and deteriorating travel conditions. If visibility is reduced while driving, slow down, watch for tail lights ahead, and be prepared to stop. For road conditions and other travel advisories, you can visit the Ministry of Transportation and continue to check in for the latest conditions on weather. So today, again, light snow ending early this afternoon, then a mix of sun and cloud with 40% chance of flurries, 2 centimeters. Wind north gusting to 40. Temperature falling to -10 this afternoon. Wind chill near -17. Tonight, mainly cloudy. Excuse me. Mainly cloudy. Wind north 20 kilometers, becoming light this evening. Low of -18. Wind chill -17 this evening, and -24 overnight. So yeah, a little change from what we've been getting used to lately in terms of weather. So with the wind chill -24 tonight. And then tomorrow, mainly sunny, increasing cloudiness late in the afternoon. There you go. So it's mainly sunny, but we're going to have some clouds in the afternoon. Wind northwest 20 kilometers, becoming light this morning. Light in the morning. High of -6, wind chill -28 in the morning, -10 in the afternoon. Frostbite risk warning there for tonight. So mainly sunny tomorrow, -6. Then 40% chance of flurries on Thursday, high of -4. Same thing on Friday, 40% chance of flurries, -9 is your high. -8 and cloudy on Saturday, 30% chance of flurries and high of -7. On Sunday, Monday, it is -7, a mix of sun and clouds. So you got a mixed bag of flurries, clouds, and a little bit of sun on Wednesday and possibly on Monday. But other than that, pretty much cloudy and flurries. And again, a look at your satellite with a lot of clouds all over the place. And that's your Sudbury weather, brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. We'll be back with some weather-related headlines for the day, some local headlines, a little bit of a deep dive, and much more when we return. Stay with us. All right, welcome back, and joining us. You know, we're getting quite the community. It's growing little by little. We used to be in and around the average of about 25 to 30. Now it's 35 to 40. So that's really great. It just so welcome aboard. If you're new, we like to stay in communication about all of the things that we feel we're trying to make sense of in our community with the news, basically. And we have a news aggregator, Sudbury.news, where it aggregates all the local news into one convenient location because Facebook's making it a little hard these days. Well, the government's mandating and regulating, and that's making it hard these days to be able to share news. So that's a way to take our local journalists, as long as we have them. They're getting diminished by the hour. But as long as there are journalists out there, they'll be aggregated on our Sudbury.news website. Seems to be a dying industry, news, and a lot of people have a lot of opinions about it. There was CBC, the cross country checkup or whatever at noon. They do a call in. They only spent a half an hour on it, talking about the 4,800 jobs that were lost from Bell Media. And that's coming on the tails of what, 15 or 1,600 people earlier in the year or last year that they cut. So there's like 6,000 plus people that they cut from their workforce %, all journalists related jobs. And then we had 600 layoff notices from CBC, so that's a lot in a small country like Canada. With two of the largest news outlets there is, that's incredible, And with all the subsidies they get from the federal government, you'd think they'd be able to go on forever. But no, it's not true, and we're in a sad state of affairs in that regard. But we'll continue anyways, trying to make sense of things, whether or not, if we're able to. I know there's going to be a huge new model coming out for news, and hopefully we can be a part of that. However, it is, because that's something that's near and dear to my heart, is finding out information, true information, and sharing it with people. That's and discussing it and trying to get to the bottom of things. And sometimes you don't have all the answers, but other people may have some of the pieces of the puzzle, and that's great. And that's the way I think that information is gathered. It's information gathering. Questions are asked, and then it's discussed, and then from there, more people add to the conversation, and then we get more of a well-rounded view of whatever topic it is that we're trying to get to the bottom of, or issue, right? Well, Monique, good morning. First to the Facebook party this morning. Thanks for being with us. Judy, you're a close second. But thanks for being with us, guys. Barry, Marianne from Barry. Good morning, everyone from Barry. Liked and shared as usual. Thank you so much, Marianne. Denise, good morning, everyone. Stay safe and healthy. You'll need to today with the weather out there, especially if you're driving. Maurice, good morning, with a smiley emoji. Thanks for being on. Leon's, good morning. And if you keep them busy with basic needs, they will forget about the freedom they lost. That is a true statement. Our freedoms are being eroded. It is what it is, right? It's like anything. It's like making a sandcastle on the beach, and the water is eventually going to come in, and weather's going to happen to it. Unless you protect it, unless you make sure that you're constantly working at keeping the sandcastle up. And it is as fragile as a sandcastle. And you have to fight for freedom. You just always do. That's the poppy, the symbol of that from our world wars and other wars that we've had to fight. And we are always told we are fighting for our freedom. Correct? So it needs to be fought for. It just doesn't happen naturally. And why is that? Because there's always going to be people that are out there that want absolute power, and they don't feel that it includes your rights in there to have the power that they so desire or so thirst for, whatever terminology you want to use. There's people that are just driven by wanting power. And as long as there are people like that out there, then freedom will have to be fought for. It's always in the best interest of the masses of the people. But if the masses of the people don't realize that that's what they're there to do, is protect the freedoms that they enjoy, and they just feel it's just going to be there all the time, they will be gone before you know it. And it just is what it is. Okay. Anne-Marie, good morning from Montreal. Good morning, Anne-Marie. Thanks for joining us from Montreal. Belinda, good morning. It's not the strength of the body that counts, but the strength of the spirit. Don't live in fear, live in faith. Yes, the two F words, and I'm not speaking of that one. Fear and faith cannot exist simultaneously together. It doesn't happen. They are opposites. They don't mesh. You're either in one or the other. So if you notice you're in fear, faith, and if you don't understand what faith is, it's the opposite of fear. So it's peace. It's a feeling of confidence in something that's true and right. That right will prevail, the good will prevail. You're always on the side of the right side of things. And if you look back in history, and you can pick out a few examples, if you were to go back in history, let's say in Germany in the 1930s, would you be one of those people just holding your hand up stiff with your palm extended kind of thing, your right arm? Or would you be a person that would say, you know what, I can kind of see through all this stuff? But the sad thing is, if you look back, it was, who were the ones that were resisting? Very, very few. Very few, which is kind of scary, right? As you look back in history, you'd hope you'd be on the right side of history, right? But the chances are, the numbers would be, you'd be one of those people with your hand up, palm extended. You know what I mean? Just because, unless you were astute enough, awake enough, your gut feeling told you what was going on, and your brain was able to ask enough questions and really see what was really playing out here, you would have been one of those people. And it is what it is. But again, right, we have the chance now, as history is being made right before our eyes, to be one of those people. Look at today's time, similar to back then. And there is a similar movement going on. It's just a global one, not just from a country. There's a global movement, similar, with similar ideologies behind it, to be able to shape your mind, to be able to go along with what it is. And it is absolute power from the top by a few people to govern the masses. So that's really what's going on. It's always been like that, but now they've gone for it in the last 4 years or so. They're going for it. It's like they've made the decision. It's nothing standing in their way. They're going for it. They're signing documents now, global documents, to take away your rights, sovereignties, government sovereignties. There's global. I wouldn't talk about the WHO. They want to make it so that way, if there's ever some type of an emergency, they then take control and they tell the health organizations in each country what to do. And the health organizations tell the governments, like we saw during the last 4 years, where our prime minister said he's not a health professional, so he's taking his orders from Dr. Theresa Tam. So who really was in control of the country? Dr. Theresa Tam and the medical establishment. They were in control of legislation of this country, regulations, emergency, no doubt, because then they can overrule any of the existing legislations or regulations or laws. And so they want something like that again. So that way, if anything ever happens, it's like just one organization says, let's do this, and the whole world has to be in lockstep. Similar to what we saw. So this document's being signed. They're hoping it's going to be signed in the spring. So keep your eyes on that, because it will take away, just like in the last 4 years, you were told what to do, what not to do, when to do it, how to do it. And you're like, yeah, but wait a minute here. I thought I had choices. No, you don't. You won't. So keep an eye on that. Liette, good morning. Sudbury from Collingwood. Thanks for being with us, Liette. Denise, good morning. Smiley emoji. And good morning, Sudbury, from Diane. Diane, good morning. So Marianne saying the news we get from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. is a rerun of the 11 p.m. news. Yeah, a lot of news is just, especially if you, those CTV news channel kind of thing. It's just like half an hour excerpts that just repeat themselves throughout the day until you get to, the 6 o'clock news or the 11 o'clock news. And then it's new. But, there's no doubt why it's crumbling. It's just they weren't even really doing news for the longest time. From what answer real questions, have all sides at the table to have real discussions, not just demonize one side and say your side and say, many people say this. That's not news. Really getting out there and finding out the 5 W's and H of good reporting. All the questions need to be answered. Letting go of these journalists may not be a bad thing if they are compromised. Then they need to go. Correct. There's going to be a lot of journalists out there looking for jobs. I think, if it was cutthroat before, it's definitely going to be cutthroat today. If you are a journalist, I would be very worried, kind of thing. Now, in my position, I get ridiculed a lot. Oh, you're not real news. What are you doing? especially people on one side of the political spectrum. If they sense that we're actually even discussing something on the other side, they're not used to hearing that. It makes them upset. It's like, why are you even speaking like that? You're giving the other side. You're not supposed to do that because they're not used to it. So it makes something in their body react. And but I'm doing this volunteer. It's because I love doing it. I do it because I have a passion for it. I'm not doing it for money. So someone could subsidize all they want. And I'm not doing it for money. I would just, if I ever got a job doing it, I would do it. I would do real journalism until they told me I couldn't. And then I would just leave and do it volunteer again, because it's important to do it the right way. It's not important to get paid. I'll have a job on the side so that I can feed myself and my family, pay my bills. But I'm going to make sure that I'm doing this because I love it. And you'll know that I'm doing it for, look, it's as if there was a certain party that was paying me to be on, or some outside sources were paying me to do this, which they are not. And if ever it came down to proving that for some reason for anybody, I would be able to prove it very easily. Just got to talk to my wife. That's one way. And, you can look at my bank account if you want to laugh. And yeah, anything like that. I'm very transparent. We've had a few donations from a few dedicated listeners and viewers, and we really appreciate that. And but again, it's all my own expenses. It's all my own time. But these journalists, that's their livelihood. That's what they do. They get paid for it. And now they've lost their job. So we'll see how dedicated they actually are to their craft, if they would do the same thing, just set up at their house and really cover news. The thing is, if they covered it the way they did, no one would watch it, because people can tell that it's garbage. No, I'm sorry. When I say garbage, I mean not telling the whole truth. That's what I mean. It's like journalism the way it's been done. Now, when I was taking journalism in college, the chair of the program believed that doesn't happen in journalism. They're all honest in their craft. They would never spin things. And I was just like, where, really? Like, that's all I see. It's all I hear in the news is just spin and political leanings. I don't really hear real news. It's like a breath of fresh air when you actually hear something honest and real. When it's like that. It's like, you ever have fake anything, honey? Like banana flavored popsicle? Like it's fake. You could tell. You could tell fake. You can tell organic and real. And there's a difference. So it's the same thing when it's going in your ears and in your brain, your heart, your gut. It's all working together to tell you whether something's right or not. Brian says, good morning, Nickel City campers. Welcome to another day. Utter chaos. Hang on to your hats. It's about to get rough. Wow. Well, I can't disagree with you there, Brian. Evelyn from YouTube, good morning. Yep, government, get rid of our jobs too in oil and gas. Well, at least I could say that right now without getting arrested. I can say oil and gas before the NDP's resolution goes forward to make it illegal to even say those words. So yes, a lot of jobs lost in that industry for sure. It's been a nightmare to all Canadians. Pam, good morning from Copper Cliff. Love the news. Thank you so much. And yes, Copper Cliff, my old stomping grounds. I love that little town, and I miss it dearly. Marianne, freedom is not free in Canada. We have to fight for it, and that is true. So Scott, good morning, Scott. Thanks for joining us. Good morning, Sudburyans. Except those that think painting crumbling abandoned buildings in rainbow colors makes them pretty. Yeah, definitely. That's still there, that building. We're still wondering what's going on with the old St. Joe's Hospital. The company that bought it was supposed to make a bunch of condos out of it, But doesn't seem to be happening. I'm not sure what's going on with that to this day. Yeah, the old hospital is an eyesore. Now, I got to admit, when it was first done, and maybe for like a week or two or a month, it was interesting. It was cool. It was like people were getting their picture taken in front of it. And then it just continued to be vandalized and everything. And it shortly became, even worse in some ways of an eyesore. And it's just sitting there. Everyone's wondering what's going on. It's on one of the busiest streets in the city. So Liette says the Nazi being applauded and praised in Parliament was very telling. Disgraceful. That is very disgraceful and very telling for sure. Justin Trudeau apparently knew about that beforehand, and is not being totally truthful, and made the Speaker of the House fall on his sword over it. Lost his position as Speaker of the House. And so he didn't take any flack. So his speaker did, though. Part of his party, and took it for him. Denise, Canada is very large coast to coast with very small population. In order to make any headway, we need to occupy where we stand, for sure, definitely. Stick to your ground where you are, do what you can with what you got, where you are, and that's all you can do. I'm doing my part here. I'm just letting you know it's at least something small that I can do to help, at least have the conversation going, because conversations, as we can see with the cancel culture and things, all shut down, and then our media didn't help at all either. They're just like, yeah, exactly. You guys are wrong. You guys are bad. That's all the media did. Instead of telling all sides. And now, look, they're losing their jobs. So really, that whole ideology, the whole idea of activist journalists, and I know that's what they are, and they talk about it amongst each other. I hear conversations with CBC hosts talking to NPR, which is kind of like CBC's sister in the United States, same ideology, same type of journalism. And they're all like, yeah, we got to kind of tell the world not to vote for Donald Trump. It's like, no, that's not what you're there for. You're not there to tell the world to vote for Donald Trump. Even if I wouldn't want to vote for Donald Trump, which I never liked him before he was elected president. Then I saw how bad the media went off on him, lies about the guy. And just, if they would have had fair reporting at least, I'd have no problem with it. I'd probably still be like, I don't know, I'm not a Donald Trump fan. That's what I would say. But because they pushed it so hard, like so many lies about the guy, and still do, and I still have the same, ultimate sentiment about him as a person, something has to be done, though, to put things back in order. So if someone's going to at least do 50% more than the other guy to do that, then I would more than likely want that person in power. Now, do I 100% agree with everything they do? No. But it makes it sound like if you are for somebody, then you're a quack, or they call them MAGA people, like as if they're like some other inferior race of people or something. Do you realize you do that? If you're in an earshot of me right now, do you realize your world of inclusive everything, everyone's inclusive and everybody's singing Kumbaya, that you point the finger at a certain group of people and demean them and demonize them and put them down? Do you realize you do that in your all-inclusive world of everybody's included? You disclude many people by doing that? Do you realize that? Do you realize the media goes along with you so you feel you're okay to do that? These are people that just don't want the world they've lived in eroded the way it's eroding. You can call it progressivism if you want, super progressivism, whatever terminology you want to get. You want to just change everything. You want to throw the baby out with the bathwater and change everything. That's great. But there's people that don't want to do that. There's people that kind of liked, having the economy stable, having a job, not having tent cities in their communities, not having drug addicts all over the place and crime increasing and the government wanting to kill off its citizens through a medical assistance and dying program. There's some people that don't want that. They don't, that's not their utopian world. And they want to stand up against that. And you feel it's okay to demonize those people and put them in a category. And in turn, basically that's racism in a form, right? To take one group of people and look at them any less than another. You're no better off than way back in the day when we had full-blown racism, the thing that you're out there to be an activist for change. You're actually counterproductive in what you're doing. So these are the journalists we have. They're Marxists, come out of Marxist universities, activists to change the Western civilization, the patriarchy, the colonialization of Canada, all these bad things. Basically get rid of it all. But it's like a snake that's eating its tail. It's a cancer. It just feeds off itself. And you're part of that now. So now you lost your job because it's only going to eat itself away. It's not, it's against nature, that kind of ideology. It's against nature. The idea that you can believe you're anything you want to be and it's true is against nature. That doesn't make sense. If I want to believe I'm a tree and I go outside and trees don't have clothes, so take off my clothes in the winter and I stand there like a tree, I'm going to die. That's against nature. Even if I believe it, it doesn't make it true. And that's that's where we're at in our world. And it's okay. And if you say anything against it, now you're one of these people, right? You're a bigot or you're a racist or you're you fill in the blanks with the name calling, right? But these are coming from the people that are saying everything needs to be all inclusive. We need a kinder, gentler, cuddlier, civilization, like a utopian communism. And that's not true. That's against nature too. So, yeah, anyways, I just wanted to touch base a little bit on that because it's interesting. My computer just rebooted again. Hopefully it comes back on. I don't know if it's going to. It might have just bit the dust for all I know. Hopefully not. Okay, it's coming back on. So last comment, I don't know if I got it on. Yes, and Prime Minister threw the speaker under the bus when he has to be approved by him. Yeah, for sure. Penny says we have been conditioned to follow and believe the powers to be. School classrooms were set up by rows so people could learn how to work on assembly lines. Never thought of that, but that could make sense. We were told that children should be seen and not heard, which is something that was true in the past. We were punished if we didn't follow the rules. Women never questioned doctors. For sure. And that was part of our culture as we, just in the past little while, right? Changing now, but yeah, no, that was our culture. It's a whole different ballgame nowadays. There's other concerns. It's always been, but unelected officials are ruling without our knowledge or vote. That's the WEF or the WHO or the UN. That's true. Thanks, Liette. Belinda says they've already been doing that behind the scenes. Now they are telling us what they are doing, and their ruling is coming to an end. Everybody is on to them. Okay. We have some interesting things coming up in world events, everyone. April 8th, keep your eye on how everything changes after the date of April 8th. You can look into that. Just go to YouTube and look up the eclipse and everything that has to do with that on April the 8th and how the United States actually is is key in world events and in terms of any kind of prophecy or anything like that. There's some interesting tidbits that are going on from that eclipse, which is a follow-up eclipse from one happening April 2017. And it's very rare to have a full-on eclipse, let alone one right after the other, 3 in 7 years over the United States. It actually makes a certain symbol, which means something, which is telling us something. So again, I don't want to get too esoterical or anything on the show, but I know a lot of the viewers here are open to different things, and I would say to just look into that. April the 8th, the eclipse that's happening over the United States. And to keep it local, some of our schools are trying to make the decision whether or not to close on that day and have a PD day to avoid the children from looking up, because we'll have a partial eclipse up here and want to avoid them having any damage to their eyes by looking at the eclipse without the proper eyewear, correct? So it's interesting. You'll want to look into that. Nobody locked down in Fort McMurray. We were evacuated from floods. Oh, interesting. Marianne says, Trudeau and Ford just signed a health document. Yeah, we talked about that yesterday. Since when does federal put their nose in health when it's a provincial run? Yeah, that is a great question, Marianne. And it's true. Healthcare is provincial, right? But the federal government came out, I think it was last year, and said they're going to infuse millions and millions of dollars into the province's healthcare across Canada if they will do certain things, because there's strings attached. And we're just seeing more of that. Again, federal government's getting their fingers in everything. We talked about it yesterday as well. So there's this plant in Cobalt. It's right in part of the news stories of the day. And they just secured $5 million. It's the Temiskaming Cobalt Processing Plant. The feds invested $5 million. Refinery developer optimistic more government, private funding will arrive to finish construction. And I guarantee you it will be mostly government. It'll be mostly government funds, because that's the only investor we have in Canada these days pretty much is government, because government will just turn around and change regulations, and a private investor will not invest in anywhere where the government can just come in, snap their fingers, and change the way things are done in an industry, and you lose your money, right? They go into places where government makes business easier to do. Like they stay out of the conversation. They allow businesses to flourish. They support them. But no, in this country, I can invest in a business, and then the government will go invest in a competitor business. So I invest my personal money, hard-earned money, into a business, and then one of the Prime Minister's friends start a business that's the same industry, same type of company, and he'll give them $1 billion of taxpayer money, and it'll make the playing field unlevel for my dollars. Now I'm competing with a government. You can never compete with a government. It's impossible. So private investment will start going down. It's already Canada. There's hardly any private investment anymore. Everyone who starts a business says what? People, you might have thought it yourself. I want to start a business. What government grants are out there? That's the first thing they say. First thing anyone says. What government grants are out there for me to start my business? They don't go, I have the most amazing idea in the world. I'm going to get all my friends to invest. Because I want them to make money, right? That's how business used to work. That's how it should work. Because if you got the idea of the century, or you got a great idea and it's going to make money and you know it, and that's why you're doing it, you would want your friends to get in on it and also prosper, right? But no, we don't think like that. And even if we did go to our friends would go, I don't know. There's too many risks, which there is. And in Canada, we're risk adverse. We don't want to take risks. Because, why? Because we live in a country where the government gets their fingers in everything and changes the landscape so much it's not open for business. It just isn't. Right? So they get their hands in everything. And now you think, yeah, well, they're supposed to be involved in things like healthcare. But no, the provincial government's supposed to be healthcare. The federal government is not. Sure, they've traditionally given allocations to the provincial governments to do what they feel necessary for their provinces. So they make up their own decisions. Now we're getting less and less like that. We're getting more and more where the federal government is taking power and making decisions more for everyone else, even the provinces. And that is turning more and more into like a communist type structure, which I've been talking about forever. Canada was on its way there for years, and now we're just rapidly moving that way. That's all. Okay. That's interesting. I'd have to learn more about the Fort McMurray thing during the time of the pandemic and how they handled things differently than the rest of the country. Everything's different in Fort McMurray, though, as you know, if you've worked there. I haven't worked there, but I have a good friend who has, and I've heard many, many stories about Fort McMurray. So again, Alberta is a little more business-minded because Alberta historically has had to function like that. They had an industry that was part of the global market. It was business. It was treated like business. So the people in the culture, it trickled down in the culture of not just relying on government. If anything, they were subsidizing the rest of Canada through the equalization, provinces equalization. They were giving most of their money away to the have-not provinces, you know. So they were the opposite. Not only were they making their own money and self-reliant, they had to give a good chunk of their money away to the rest of Canada. The Albertans got a bad deal, still do today. That's why they're talking about splitting off of Canada. You might think, why are they doing that? Or if you hear on the news them saying things like, why are they doing this? You know, that's why they're doing it. Because they've gotten a raw deal right from the beginning. Prime Minister Trudeau's father, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, hated Alberta and gave it to them back in the day. And his son continues to do the same today. And anyways, they're kind of waking up now that they're making it illegal to even talk about oil and gas. That's what they want to do. They're like, okay, no, that's, yeah. There's a huge battle going on in Canada in that way. And it's Alberta against the rest of Canada. And it's not right because it's basically capitalism against socialism or communism is what it is. Alberta's, sure, they're in Canada, and so they are part of the socialist structure, getting to be communist, but they don't want to go all the way to communism, obviously, and they're backing out. They're like, no, we're not going down that road. And so, yeah, well, we're just going to make oil and gas obsolete because it's part of Klaus Schwab's agenda anyways, and I'm just doing whatever Klaus Schwab tells me what to do, and that's where it's heading. So we'll see. That's going to be an interesting one. The whole Alberta, Canada saga. Okay, my computer luckily started rebooting again, so I'm grateful for that. You know what? Today's just been pretty much a conversation. I'm very appreciative of all your comments, and I thought I would just continue to read them just because we're having a great conversation. Scott, I don't see you here too often, so basically, I know from experience that the news sources will spin a story to suit their needs. They did it to me in 2024 election. Yeah, and unless you have, a personal experience with it, unless you realize it or something that's, let's say, your favorite food was peanut butter and all of a sudden the news said, I don't know, the government is now making it illegal to sell peanut butter, and you knew there was nothing wrong with it, but the news went along with it. You'd be like, something's wrong with the news. Why are they saying something's wrong with peanut butter? Meaning, eating it all my life, nothing wrong with peanut butter. Dumb analogy, but anyways, you get my point. unless it's something that hits home to you, you might not notice it. And you're just kind of listening to the news as if, oh yeah, they're just telling me the truth all the time. Good morning, Chris. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, there must be tons and tons and tons of, let's see. I'm not going to get through everyone's comments, so just want to see here. Michael Vagnini, I just wanted to bring that up. We shared a video of his on Facebook last night. And the video, it's a podcast that's just dedicated to people that have gone missing. And it basically doesn't explain anything else other than what we already know. However, I did want to at least shed a bit of a light on that today. It's over 2 weeks now that he's been missing, and not being able to locate him, which, again, I'm scratching my head over the whole thing. I don't understand what's going on. I really don't. I how could we not find Michael Vagnini?
Hello, I'm
at
Jay
this
Nickel
point?
from
But,
Ontario Cold.
I thought I paused that, but anyways, we will. So here's a segment from the podcast, and we'll be back just right after this.
Hello, I'm Jay Nickel from Ontario Cold Cases, the podcast, and I'm here to tell you about a missing person. Michael Vagnini, a member of Greater Sudbury City Council, has been reported missing. Greater Sudbury Police Service issued a media release at approximately noon on Sunday, January 28, 2024, indicating he is considered missing. They responded to a missing person incident within the city of Greater Sudbury during the evening of January 27th and continue to investigate the incident. Vagnini, the city councillor member for Ward 2, is described as 62 years of age, male, white, 5 feet 11 inches tall, 260 pounds, black short hair, unshaven face. He was last seen wearing a bright yellow hooded sweater, green pants, and black running shoes. He was driving a black 2021 Ram 1500 truck, Ontario license plate BK 22178. He was last observed in the area of Rural Route 55 and McCharles Lake Road. Vagnini requires medications but has none with him, according to the media release, which notes, as a result, he may appear confused or disoriented. Family and police report being concerned for his well-being. Vagnini's intended destination and whereabouts are unknown. Members of the public are asked to be on the lookout for Vagnini in the vehicle. Anyone with information related to this incident can contact police at 705-675-9171. So please consider subscribing to Ontario Cold Cases, the podcast, on Patreon, Spotify, YouTube, or Apple Podcasts.
So very sad. Still awaiting some word on Michael Vagnini's whereabouts, and we our prayers and thoughts, and we still hope for a good outcome with him. But nothing as of yet. It's just scratch my head. So we're hoping for the best, but it doesn't seem right, and something doesn't look good. But we want to keep positive with that, and hopefully we'll have something by tomorrow. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We had a good group of people on, many people commenting. We really appreciate that. We just kind of have a conversation about what's going on in our world and why things are the way they are. School bus is canceled today for Sudbury, just to let everyone know. You probably already do if you have children in the Massey area as well. So we really appreciate you being on, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back same time, same place, God willing, tomorrow on CKLU 96.7 FM. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily, and we'll catch you tomorrow. Ciao, everyone.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.